reminds me, Agnes called. Wondered if you're available for a bit of a snuggle this evening.
I'd love a snuggle with Agnes. Do I look available?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the inaugural episode of the Conquest of Popcorn. I'm Barto, El Barto Army on Twitter, and I'm here with my co-host.
I'm Pinko at Pinko_snob.
And we're here to review movies and give sort of a left critique perspective.
Yeah.
We're going to review trash films and good films, I think. And yeah.
Give them the same level of respect and critique, I think.
Yeah, that's the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, all these will involve spoilers of the film. So if you've not seen it, we're going to encourage you to go to whatever illegal site you use to watch movies on.
Yes,
and
please don't pay to watch the movie we're reviewing today, because it is truly terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad. But yeah, we're going to encourage you to go watch Transformers: The Last Knight if you've not seen it already.
Or don't watch it.
It's
you'll never get that 2.5 hours of your life back.
Yeah. But yeah, whatever the case, spoilers ahead. But yeah, I've never seen any of the other Transformers movies.
Lucky you.
This was even more disappointing than I'd imagined it would be, and I've actively avoided these for years and years. And then I saw you when it was still in theaters, live tweeting it.
I was very drunk when I was live tweeting that.
Yeah.
Not very drunk. I was appropriately drunk in public at a movie theater.
Well, you hit this point really early on where you brought up that the Transformers had basically been outlawed on Earth, and the only place they had refuge was Cuba, where they were being allowed to sun on Castro's beaches.
I don't know why robots need to sun themselves, but
yeah,
there's
no
some good scenes of them, like, are they playing volleyball on the beach?
Well, and so immediately I thought there's some weird, like, anti-collectivist message hidden in here somewhere. But what we ultimately discovered was something even weirder.
Yeah,
I think than
basically that. This is a movie that was written for and by the Reddit world. I think it really plays like a movie that was crowdsourced by like our men's rights or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So ostensibly, this is a movie about how the Transformers have been with us since the days of Merlin and the Knights of the Round Table. We learn early on that Merlin is real, the King Arthur and all that is real, and the Transformers help them win some sort of decisive battle. We then jump ahead. Yeah, Transformers have been outlawed. Optimus Prime, the leader of the Autobots, the good Transformers, is floating through space, frozen on his way to Cybertron, which I learned is the home of the Transformers. And the world is sort of like there's like a task force out collecting rogue Transformers and stuff like that.
Yeah. They've been banned from Earth.
But whatever the case, there's Merlin's staff is important to the Transformers mythos in some way. and we need to find it, and we need to save the world with it.
Yeah.
And it's like 2.5 hours to get through this whole thing, but that's not even really important. What's important here is so we start off.
Well, what's important is what the Transformers represent, I think.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, which you gleaned
so
very.
my reading of this was, this is a world. This is like the feminized society that has been destroyed by feminism. That you hear characters like Cernovich and Peterson and all those clowns just sort of harping on about. So Transformers in general, as a whole, are masculinity, and they have been banned by the feminized government because of the crimes of the Decepticons, which are the few bad guys. But the Autobots
The few bad men.
Yeah, the few bad men, the few bad apples. And the Autobots, who are nice guys. You're, White Knight, fedora, whatever. I don't know. Whatever the archetype of the nice guy who's being punished unfairly by feminism is. That's the Autobots.
They're the guys who are who are really pissed off that girls don't like them.
Right.
That they only date bad guys.
They're that creepy dude in your dorm who holds the door for you and says, "Milady," and then gets really annoyed that you won't go out on a date with him.
So yeah, the government is feminized society.
Yes,
but
and the military is good masculine society, and it would be able to be free and do what it was meant to do if it weren't being leashed by feminism, which is the government. And I think this is an interesting thing that I see in a lot of movies where a lot of movies that cater toward like right-wing values, where we both hate the government and love the military. And the way people sort of square that is the military is good, it's just being led badly by, Congress or whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe we should just have a military dictatorship.
Yeah,
I
that's the overarching message throughout this is that the bureaucrats in charge have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty early on, we have so they're looking for this amulet,
it's an amulet.
Yeah, that
or
talisman or something that has found its way to Mark Wahlberg and has attached itself to Mark Wahlberg, and it's
chosen him. He's
chosen
the chosen hero,
right? Which is
all of these movies have a chosen one.
Also important, but they decide to. The government somehow discovers that God, what is his name? The head of the Decepticons, Megatron. Yeah, that's it. Discover that Megatron has gleaned where this thing is, and so they strike a deal with Megatron, and there's this weird scene where they meet him out in the desert, and all these lawyers set up desks and with laptops, and they're basically having they're making a deal, releasing members of his gang of Decepticons who are mostly in jail for it's weird because they've charged them for crimes that you would charge anyone else, like bank robberies and stuff like that.
But that's they represent something though. They're representative of the bad guys who've been allowed to sort of take over because the nice guys have been pushed out of society. These are the guys that men going their own way, the MGTOWs, are no longer defending women from because women didn't appreciate them enough. These are the rapist immigrants that Peter Norway or Peter Sweden. No, Peter Sweden.
Peter Sweden.
Peter Norway
Norway's
is the
funny
very
guy.
funny parody account. Peter Sweden is always going on about the rapist hordes that have invaded his country that he doesn't even live in. And, and that's what's going on here, because the government, the weak, feminized government, has allowed these evil outsiders to take over.
No,
And it's because they haven't respected the nice guys enough.
just so that we're keeping up with our terminology and stuff with this, can you step back and just like explain MGTOW to me?
MGTOW is men going their own way.
What the hell is that?
So it's like they're taking their ball and going home. Basically, they're men who are withdrawing from romantic life. They're denying themselves to women because women don't appreciate them enough. And in theory, this sounds great because nobody wants to date them anyway.
Yeah,
But-
fuck those people.
In practice, they just will not shut up about it, and they're always bringing it up, and they're always harassing women on the internet about it. And it's like, please go your own way. We don't want you either. Like, this would be mutually beneficial if they would just go.
So so essentially you're saying that their thesis is actually good, that they should go their own way.
Yeah,
withdraw,
great. Fuck off.
But also they've just not gone far enough.
They just haven't gone at all.
Ah, I see.
They're like kicking and screaming and having a tantrum in your living room instead of, going out the door like they said they would.
Okay. So we're catching this as like a theme. I'm gathering it of men fearing and also maybe not having sex with women. That's part of this movie then?
I think so, yeah. Women are, I don't know if, like, they're denying sex very explicitly in this movie. Sex is not something that comes up often. It comes up in one very important instance, but generally women just aren't appreciating them enough
I think
and giving them
comes in-
affection.
Comes in more than once.
More than once? Okay,
So-
you think so?
So let's talk about the star of this movie, because none of the Transformers really get to like there's not that much robot fighting or anything like that in this movie.
It's weird because that's pretty much all this movie has to offer is robot fights,
Yeah.
and there's not enough of it. in
But
my
the
opinion.
the star Mark Wahlberg, like
Marky
known
Mark,
actual total racist,
piece of
like
shit.
piece of shit.
Has he ever been accused of like sexual harassment? Ella?
As far as I know, he's not been accused of
Okay.
sexual harassment. He's been convicted of like taking 2x4s to people of color because of their race. But
Jesus.
yeah, he'd really like that expunged from his record.
Again, don't pay to see this movie.
Yeah.
Steal it. It's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Don't give Mark Wahlberg money.
But so we have Mark Wahlberg, who's basically like housing the like a group of Autobots in the desert somewhere, which looks, the way the movie he goes straight from Chicago to the middle of the desert in a truck.
Yeah, it's like in the Badlands or something, it says.
Yeah, but they don't really make it. It kind of makes it looks like there's
you
a
just-
desert right outside of Chicago.
Which also, I really want to point out that they took a moment to shoehorn Chicago into this movie because
Oh,
it
yeah.
wouldn't be a reactionary right-wing propaganda piece if we didn't take a moment to shit on Chicago.
Yeah, if you just say, yeah, but what about Chicago? And Chicago is a total like,
it's like a wasteland.
they're in the loop in
It's like
Chicago.
fucking Mad Max.
Yeah, but with Transformers running around, and like the state has like has robots that are just like
regular
blasting
robots.
at kids
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's very weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have Marky Mark, who's the defender of the good guy.
Yeah,
You know.
he's a good guy, and he's the defender of the good masculinity.
But we see that, so we learned his daughter is not with him. He's an absentee father.
Yeah, but he has a good reason for it.
Yeah. That's the other fun
if
thing.
he contacts her for more than like a minute at a time every so often via like CB radio or something, the government will track him down and arrest him. So he is the father who would be a good father, but he's been denied custody of his child by the evil feminist state.
Yeah, which is cool because, I mean, if in my limited research, that's a big thing. Family court is a big thing with MGTOWs and men's rights
Huge
organizations. But throughout the film, the second scene he's in, he makes a racist remark to the Native American chief who's a sheriff.
But he's a chief of his tribe. I'm sorry, I'm probably using the incorrect terminology here. But yeah, he's an indigenous man. Mark Wahlberg calls him chief, and he tells him not to say that because it just sounds racist coming from him, which is probably like the highest point in the whole movie is Mark Wahlberg being called out for being racist.
Yeah, but he then just acts like a shithead about it and doesn't.
Yeah, that's true. Like they kind of make it seem like he's like a whiny POC.
Yeah. He's he has this employee who is
Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg has this employee who's we learn is sort of has been like tricked into taking this job where he is also in charge of just like wrangling up robots in this junkyard that they live in.
He answered a Craigslist ad.
Yeah.
And he's very like whiny and effeminate, and I think he's kind of like a, I don't know, what did we say he was, like a,
I mean, he's sort of like a
whiny little liberal.
He's like a college liberal.
Yeah.
Is sort of, I mean, so he talks a lot about, like, he doesn't have health care.
Yeah, he does complain about that a lot.
Yeah, he talks about his benefits. He thinks he got shot, but it was just, like, with a beanbag or something, and, like, has big tears about it, and I mean, he's the only relatable character in this whole movie, but
he definitely is. Like, they play up his patheticness.
Yeah, he takes the brunt of the.
Yeah, he's definitely the, what's the name? The character that's just there to get beat up on.
I don't know. Yeah, that doesn't.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. I should probably look this stuff up if we're gonna do a film podcast.
Yeah, we'll get there. And then we eventually, Mark Wahlberg is taken by this sort of like very English, he's sort of like a transformer, but he doesn't transform. I don't really get Anthony Hopkins' robot.
Oh yeah, he's like an android.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's a transformer.
Yeah.
They don't really ever explain that.
No, he's just there and fancy.
Yeah. Very fancy.
It's a very fancy robot.
But with like weird use of AAV sometimes.
Yeah.
Which just sounds so strange.
So Mark Wahlberg is swooped out of the desert and taken to this plane and taken to England where they meet. He meets Anthony Hopkins and Laura Haddock.
These are just the actors' names. I don't know the character names.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg's character's name is like Cade or something.
Yeah, it is Cade.
Awful.
It's bad. We're just gonna use the actors' names.
Yeah, but we meet Laura Haddock, who is also just like
insufferable in lots of ways.
Yeah, but you described it perfectly as like she is the character who's like poisoned by feminism.
Yeah, so she's a very beautiful, like very conventionally attractive woman. She's a babe, and she's a PhD. She's like a professor of mythology or literature or some such thing, history, and she would be like the perfect woman if not for being poisoned by feminism and pursuing a career in academia and all of that. So there's a scene where she's like, we start with her playing polo, which is a ridiculous sport, like so silly. And she falls off her horse, so her first humiliation. She's humiliated throughout this film.
There's really intense music while the polo match is going on, as if to like show like I thought it was like, look at this dangerous woman.
Yeah, I thought it was
polo.
really funny with that music because polo is such a silly looking sport.
It was like the battle music that we got through the rest of the movie.
Well, so she falls off her horse and then gets up, and somebody, I think he's on her team, one of the other players, says something about nobody would ever want to marry her.
He's sort of like an English fancy boy.
Yeah, and it was such a like out of left field comment. And then another man has to bring her horse. It's just,
and she's
humiliated.
She gets in her car because she's late and like crashes into like a stand of bicycles.
Oh yeah, she's a terrible driver.
She can't drive.
Obviously, she's a woman. She can't help it.
We get this scene where she's with her like very catty aunts and mom.
Yeah. So they're just like, I think, they're like this group of cackling hags. They're kind of like the women who, they're encouraging her to just settle down and get married. And I think that you would think, because they're encouraging her to get married, they're what masculine patriarchal society wants. But no, they just want her to get married for the sake of security. They're the sperm jacking, gold digging, rotten women.
I love that word, sperm jacking.
They do not want her to marry and then submit to a husband or any such thing that she should be doing. They just want her to get, wealth and security.
They want her to be able
to
stop working.
Yeah, well, I mean that's sort of the weird binary or like conflicting values that you have in this world, where on the one hand women need to be desirable to men and submit themselves to men so they can be cared for, but on the other hand women are terrible for wanting men to care for them.
Yes,
it's like, yeah, so this is what's going on here.
We also have this really I thought key point where where she talks about how she resents her father because he has no honor, which again,
he's dead.
Yeah, he died. Had no honor, but they don't really. He had no honor, maybe because.
He kept her locked out of his office where he had all of the historical artifacts.
Yeah.
All of these artifacts, when you see the office, they're for sort of aristocratic, patriarchal, European history. And I think what's happening is he has failed in his role as a father to guide her in the ways of being a proper woman in patriarchy. And thus, he has no honor.
Right.
He did not induct her into this society that she should be a part of.
So she is eventually so basically this is a big part of this movie is putting this woman in her place.
Yes, literally.
Yeah,
like very literally, she is physically removed from where she is and taken somewhere.
Yeah. She goes into her car, which has been
copied.
Copied
a transformer.
Yeah, by a French. Well, it turns out his French accent is fake.
Yeah,
we learned, but what sounds like a French transformer, essentially carjacks her. I guess it's not her car; it's him. But and
throws her into the trunk.
Throws her into the trunk of the car and locks her up and drives her.
They did leave a very nice sealed invitation to high tea in the glove compartment. Right. So it's sort of okay because he did it with a proper invitation.
Yeah. No, nothing is, I mean, if we're going by old school rules,
you can physically carry a woman wherever you want as long as you give her an engraved invitation first.
Right. It's fine to throw...
And as long as you take her somewhere nice.
Yeah, exactly. And she was going somewhere very nice. It was a very nice castle. And again, it's Anthony Hopkins Castle.
Is it Highclere Castle?
I don't know. I don't know what Claire
It's
Castle
it's
is.
the castle where they filmed Downton Abbey, but they also
Oh,
filmed
I don't
a
think
lot
so.
of stuff there.
I don't think that's it.
Okay.
Um,
It's also the castle where the orgy scene is in Eyes Wide Shut.
oh no, it's definitely not that castle.
Okay, never mind.
I know that castle. But
I wasn't paying a ton of attention to this movie. It's a little boring.
is yeah. But we have her being taken there to meet Marky Mark and Anthony Hopkins. I think we should jump back just a second because there's Optimus Prime was flying through space and there's a parallel plot going on that also until the very end of the movie barely matters at all, and it feels like it's just sort of like along the very
It's just there to
peripheral
make
of
this
this
movie
film.
2.5 hours long.
Yes. Well, and to create like an overarching conflict besides
Mark Wahlberg can't get laid.
Mark Wahlberg not being able to get laid. But Optimus crashes on Cybertron, and he discovers this. Her name is Quintessa. We don't really know who she is. She describes herself as his maker.
She's like the goddess of the Transformers.
But she's just like a witch.
Yeah, she looks like a witch.
Cybertron is a fucking mess. We don't know. I don't know how Cybertron looked previously, but it looked pretty tore up.
The planet is dying.
Yeah.
And they need to steal energy from Earth.
So Optimus gets there and immediately submits to Quintessa.
Yeah, she's
like his eyes turn a different color, and
with her electric powers,
he becomes chained to the planet and is like what looks like he's pulling it through space towards Earth, and we have sort of a melancholia thing happening. Which again is barely hinted on until we're about 2/3 of the way through the movie. They're like, oh wait, this planet's coming to basically crash into Earth. But what I think again is most important here is that we have another sort of like evil woman.
Yeah. So what do we say? We were talking about that shooter.
Oh, Elliot Rogers.
Yeah, so we were saying this is a little bit
actually
awful.
Not funny.
No, it's not funny, but it is kind of. It's just this archetype or this stereotype that you see a lot in reactionary men's movement, anti-feminist shit, where they claim that men treating women badly is due to an early experience where a woman did something bad to a man. Like, I saw a ridiculous tweet a while ago where a 6-year-old, 5-year-old girl hands a Valentine back to a little boy who just handed it to her.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
some
remember this.
ridiculous man on Twitter was like, this boy is gonna hate women his whole life because of this. And it was just...
Which is theoretically like absurd, but then you have the case of Elliot Rogers, who is the most famous incel.
Yes. So he, in his little, it wasn't a manifesto. It was
It was a screed. I don't know. It was long. It was very long. It was like 20,000 words.
After killing a bunch of women and a friend of his and a bunch of people, he left this screed saying that this all began when a little girl pushed him in the schoolyard when he was a child, and that's Quintessa. She takes Optimus Prime, who is the leader of the Autobots, the best Autobot, the nicest, goodest guy in the Transformers universe.
Who Elliot Rogers ultimately thought he was before he murdered a bunch of people.
So Quintessa essentially pushes him. She just kind of hits him with her lightning powers, and physically he like gets pushed back. And he immediately becomes evil. Immediately he goes to Earth to attack it. Earth, again, the feminized society being run by awful women and the men who submit to their authority, their unjust authority.
So this is all going on.
Yeah.
But again, we're now jumping back where we're at this castle, where again, it was awesome how they introduced Anthony Hopkins, because there's this like shot where you hear this English robot and they're like running through this castle, and then we see this figure who's sort of like cloaked in shadow, and then they do that sort of like close up zoom in shot where he turns around and it's like he says some
Anthony
stupid line, and it's like, and it's just like a wink and a nod being like, we got Anthony.
Yeah, we got him to be in this movie, and he's not a very dramatic looking man.
Anthony Hopkins?
No.
Oh, I disagree.
Really?
But yeah,
He looks like my grandfather.
Oh, that's. I mean, Anthony Hopkins has a beautiful face. Yeah, I'm saying it.
Ugh.
But I mean, like a terrifying, beautiful face.
No, it's not terrifying. It's like a round old man face. He
I don't
looks
know.
like my
Those
grandpa.
eyes. You're not looking in his eyes deep enough.
I guess.
But whatever the case, he goes on to teach them. He's basically part of an order of keeping
It's like a secret society.
Yeah, who's in charge?
What's a reactionary right-wing movie without a secret society?
Absolutely. Who's in charge of keeping the secrets of the Transformers. He's like the Knights Templar for robots.
And the secret is that Transformers have been there at every significant moment in history. They are the reason that we've had progress. The good guys.
Yeah.
The good patriarchal men.
The few men.
Including Harriet Tubman.
Yeah, helping the Underground Railroad was rife with.
There's no way a black woman did
trucks.
that on her own. She needed Autobots.
Yeah, she
giant
needed
robots.
Autobots.
I don't know why the giant robots couldn't have just fucking ended slavery.
Yeah, that
on
would
their
be
own.
the correct
They
thing.
had to be like sneaking around in the forest with Harriet Tubman
And
like a musket, but okay.
also, they made Germany's forces sound much tougher than they were, because during World War II, we had Autobots on our side.
Yeah, and we still had that much trouble
And-
beating them.
Yeah,
The Soviet Union
there
still
was
lost
still a Holocaust.
millions of troops. Yeah. Again, what the fuck, Transformers, Autobots? You're not that great. You ain't shit.
Reading some background for this movie, I discovered the scene. So there's this. It's just one little scene where they're like, the Autobots are like in cars going to some Nazi party. They're dressed up as cars, and then they transform in the parking lot of the party and like kill all these Nazis and stuff like that. And there's this big, beautiful mansion that is draped in swastikas and stuff. But I guess there was like major controversy because that was Winston Churchill's house that they draped in swastikas.
It
and,
is
like,
a little ironic. Like I would have not used that house just because
probably not.
It just
but,
is like it doesn't work with the timeline.
But
Like the main dude who wasn't a Nazi his house was being partied in by whatever.
But kind of a Nazi in his own right.
Yeah, he was a different flavor of fascist. He hated different people than Hitler hated, but still hated people and killed many of them.
Killed many people.
Not a good guy.
Anyways, so we learn that Autobots have been helping us through history, but then we get this really like wonderful little series of interactions. First of all, Mark Wahlberg is just like immediately throws shots at Laura Haddock.
Of course. Because he's the archetypal perfect man.
What does he refer to her as?
He says she looks like a stripper.
She refers to her stripper dress. He said, "You English lady, shove it." He's just generally distrustful of like her education and looks. And then she fires back about the dress, like, well, maybe I should take it off then.
The woman weaponizing her sexuality, the worst thing possible.
Yeah, again, that's another...
Needs to be taken down a peg.
I mean, but that's not a MGTOW staple, is the weaponization of sexuality.
Yes, by women.
By women, yeah, absolutely. The weaponization of men's sexuality is inherent and virtuous, I think.
Yeah, some of them have argued that rape should be legal for incels.
Jesus.
With the comparison of stealing bread should be legal if you're starving. Pretty gross.
Then, whatever the case, they get in this fight. We're learning about history, and then basically, we learn a couple of things. We learn that Mark Wahlberg is supposed to be the last knight, which Laura Haddock knows all about because she has a history of mythology degree and knows all sorts of stuff about Merlin.
One of those humanities degrees.
And I didn't think about that either. And she's like, but the last knight is supposed to be chaste.
Yes, and that's when we find out that Marky Mark is incel.
Yeah. He's not. I mean, his daughter alluded earlier that he'd not had a date in a very long time.
Right.
But yeah, they go in this. He's not.
They ask him how long it's been, and he's like, a while. It's very clear that this wasn't by his choosing, though, but he has been chaste.
Yeah.
So
it chased long enough for
him to be incel.
Yeah, for him to be incel and for the magic of the last night to work.
Right, because no one is ever a chosen one without going through some sort of adversity, and the adversity that Mark Wahlberg has faced has been a dry spell.
Yep, a dry spell, exactly. And then we learn that she's the descendant of Merlin and the staff.
Very ironic after telling all her students that Merlin did not exist. She did not believe in the history of the great white man.
Yeah. Well,
the great white Anglo-Saxon
so
man.
Part of the reason it's important that she's related to Merlin is that the staff itself is infused with Merlin's DNA, which...
so it can only be wielded by one of his descendants.
And again, I know genetics is not directly part of like men's rights stuff, but it is a super peripheral category.
There's a lot of overlap. Well, there is actually, because a lot of them are very obsessed with evolutionary psychology and evolutionary just shit like that, and there's a lot of overlap between that segment of the population, especially when you get into like red pill type people talking about women's biological predisposition to respect alphas and shit like that. So there's a lot of overlap between them and like eugenics crowd. Like it's there, and again, the mythology that we are focusing on in this movie is Celtic, English, Western European mythology, and it's exactly the shit that like white supremacists are obsessed with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And many white supremacists are, it's again a peripheral, anti-feminist, and fall into the incel and
there's lots of different
categories.
Flavors of fascism, but they all overlap into one disgusting ice cream swirl. Basically.
We then get, again, we're going on this this hating women thing. Cybertron, the planet that's coming to Earth, we learn it's going to suck life force from Earth, and is referred to as a succubus, which I think is fantastic, right on the nose. Then they go on this big chase scene. Again, the plot is fucking weird, and it just moves
slowly.
Both slowly and then incredibly
just
fast.
Jumps ahead with no explanation all the time. This movie ends like 5 times.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's again a lot in nothing. But we have Anthony Hopkins and his very English robot butler in the car, and the butler's like, Agnes called to see if you were available for a snuggle this evening, and Anthony Hopkins very aggressively is like, I've never snuggled with Agnes. Agnes, do I look like I have time to snuggle?
It's a very weird moment. I don't really understand why that joke was put in there.
Nope. And then the robot starts singing, move, bitch, get out the way. Move, bitch, get out the way, over and over. And it's like, and it's this like really rapid fire thing of just like, we're gonna just like
shoehorn in some misogyny for no apparent reason.
Yep.
It doesn't even. It has nothing to do with the plot. It's not really funny.
No.
It's very weird.
And then Wahlberg and the butler and Laura Haddock get on a submarine that ends up being a transformer, and
and it smells like the sweet sour musk of men in close quarters.
Yes, yeah. Beautiful.
According to Anthony Hopkins.
And then the talisman, Laura and Mark are like in this room, and like,
the talisman has been attached to Mark Wahlberg's arm the whole time,
but is also a robot.
Yeah, it moves around sometimes in weird ways.
But it crawls down his pants, and they like do this like allusion to like, ooh, maybe we should check where it went, kind of thing. But then they don't. They get a date set up for them instead.
Yeah.
Again, it's
the butler has a whole little dinner set up for them. Is there like something in the prophecy that they have to bone?
No, because they don't.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. Did we describe the part with the quote that he says to her?
What quote?
The any sufficiently advanced technology.
Oh, I didn't even. Oh, we totally missed that. Yeah.
Yes, and then she turns and says, what was his name? Arthur.
Yeah.
Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke.
She's like impressive. All of a sudden, her opinion of him changes.
Yeah. He says like
that
the
is
most
straight from Reddit.
Yeah, the most Reddit thing in the world,
Yes.
and she like swoops her head around, and she's
practically
like,
swoons.
"Oh my god, I'm so wet for you right now."
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's weird. But yeah, they end up going to the bottom of the ocean. They find Merlin when she's about to give up because they can't make the staff work. Mark Wahlberg like explains what adventure is to her in like the most mansplaining way possible, and then they figure it out.
Yeah, so even though the staff can only work for her specific genetics because she's the last descendant of Merlin, she still needs a man to explain it to her.
Yeah. The thing starts working. They're on some like ancient ship. It starts going up towards the sky or whatever. Cucked Optimus shows up all of a sudden. He's like Cuctimus. Turns out the medallion is Excalibur, which
just turns into a giant sword.
We have no lore about Excalibur.
I think it's Excalibur. If it's a giant sword. No, it is, because in the very beginning of the movie, when the armies are fighting, King Arthur has the sword.
Oh.
And it is that same sword.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Whatever the case, Optimus is fighting Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg has the sword, and then this character Bumblebee, who I think is a major transformer throughout the series.
Yes, he is.
And he has some problem with his
like
voice.
The friendly one that always is the sidekick to the protagonist.
And suddenly, when he first started the movie, he was just talking in like audio clips.
Yeah. Well, throughout the series, Bumblebee doesn't have a voice, so he uses audio clips to communicate.
Interesting. But then his real voice kicks in.
And it's a very manly voice.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Bumblebee plays sort of a cute character throughout, I think.
But
his name is Bumblebee.
Yeah. Which is cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, the very masculine voice of Bumblebee is enough to get the good guy Optimus back out from under the spell of this evil woman. Which is another...
it's bro saving his bro from the hoe.
Yes.
Bros before hoes,
it's exactly what happens.
Yeah.
They show up. They go... He decides he needs to fight Quintessa. They
Put
go
that
to...
woman in her place.
And he aims to. They go to Stonehenge. Again, we're back on this Celtic thing. They go
love
to
it.
They go to Stonehenge and they
Are they in England still at this point, or or before that, or I don't know?
yeah no
they
they're
kind
all,
of jump continents, like whatever, and they don't really explain any of it.
um
And Cuba is still a factor in this movie,
yeah
sort of.
Cuba,
Cuba did not need to be in this.
there's
movie at
like secrets in Cuba, but they don't really matter.
all. No, I think they just wanted a scene of Cuba in the movie.
Yeah, I
They
mean
have that
Cuba's
Che
a
Guevara
it's a
thing in
beautiful
their own
place.
Yeah.
That might be it. It just might be beautiful, and
Well,
England is
I'm kind of
sort of
wondering-
beautiful.
Well, no, they couldn't have actually filmed it in Cuba, could they?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if they did, but they could have.
Were they like allowed to do things like that at that point? I know the embargo restrictions have been relaxed.
Yeah.
This is a tangent we don't need to go on.
No, yeah, we might cut this out. But whatever the case, so they launch this big operation to get up to this other planet that's now just sort of attached itself to Earth through tentacles, and a really important thing happens in the airplane on the way up, where Mark Wahlberg is. It's him and all these soldiers who've been sort of, again, like, he's friendly with a soldier throughout the movie, but these soldiers are ultimately their transformer hunting soldiers at the behest of this evil state.
They have bad leadership. They're not bad soldiers.
And then
It's like there's no bad dogs, only bad owners.
they start ripping off their
They're Transformer hunter badges.
their Transformer hunter badges. I'm not sure if they rip off American flags or not.
No, they don't. They all have little insignias for their different branch of the military, showing that they're like special forces that hunt Transformers.
Okay.
And they rip those off and become one united front of people who are fighting for the good Transformers,
Yeah.
the Autobots,
Yeah.
and Mark Wahlberg.
And they're detaching themselves from feminized society.
Yeah,
as
they're
such.
they're throwing off the tyrannical leadership of the feminized government. Because again, it's not the military's fault, okay? It's the government, the elected leaders who've been elected by these sissy libs. And if we just had decent, strong military leadership running everything, America would be fine.
Yeah, we need more chivalrous, masculine.
We need
military.
more troops, damn it.
More troops.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have this attack and all this stuff happens, but suddenly, we have Haddock and Wahlberg characters fighting side by side.
Yeah.
Not fighting each other.
Because they are the perfect archetypal man and woman, the cis het white couple. And they represent cis hetero patriarchal values.
That are like, fine, they're back, baby.
Yeah. And it's beautiful, really.
Yeah.
I mean, she like kind of defers to him the whole time, and he takes the lead, and they become this very good force fighting together. Actually, not really, though. They keep falling down a lot.
They fall down a lot.
They do fall down a lot.
But they make it to where Quintessa is.
Yes. They overcome at the end.
Yeah, there's some kind of battle that happens.
It doesn't matter.
It
It's just
doesn't.
fighting.
She gets the staff and stops the planets from crashing into each other or whatever, and Quintessa falls to the earth, like, with everyone else, but they're all okay for some reason. Everyone's fine. The Autobots decide to go and fix their planet,
Yeah.
leave the Earth. Presumably the Decepticons are mostly dead too, because they
Yeah.
decided to the bad men teamed up with the Cuckoldress at the end of the movie. And
Is Cuckoldress like a thing?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
The succubus evil
Yeah.
witch lady. But yeah, they don't really explain what happens to the Decepticons, but they're defeated. Don't worry. They're
Yeah.
defeated. They're not a problem anymore. To the next movie.
But
Obviously.
yeah, and it works out until about midway through the credits, we see this really beautiful woman walking in through the desert, and
Oh yeah.
there's like some military white dude out there. I'm not sure what he's doing in the middle of. It's like in
He's
Africa.
looking for oil.
Yeah, looking for oil or something. We learn it's Quintessa all over again. So she's not gone. She'll be back for the sixth
baby.
installment of the Transformers
This
films.
Fucking franchise that will never die.
But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's military worship, respect the troops.
yeah, lots of
put
troops
women in their
respected.
place.
Yep.
And everything will be fine.
Yep. Yeah. But yeah, whatever the case, Michael Bay. This was his last Transformers movie, so
He's not doing them anymore.
He's not doing them anymore.
Did
Near
he
as
make,
Mark Wahlberg.
too much money and he just couldn't handle it?
I think he just felt like his message could not be overt enough.
I mean, this was really ham-fisted.
Yeah.
It really hit you over the head with it, throughout the movie.
Yeah, just like women are awful, men are tortured, and British stuff is the most powerful stuff in the universe, and
you gotta bring back the British Empire.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that was episode 1. I think we did okay.
Yeah, I think it was pretty good.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Barto, El Barto Army on Twitter.
And I'm Pinko Snob, or Pinko_Snob on Twitter.
You're probably listening to this on SoundCloud, so you found your way there. We are at popcorn_pod on Twitter. I don't think we're going to make a Facebook. That sounds awful.
No, don't go on Facebook. It's bad.
But we will be back here next week.
Maybe.
Probably. I think so.
Yeah.
So it was nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.